Hey guys, it's JJ HotCakes here. Said in my last video that I'm moving to Spain soon, so I watched this video called "Why Do Europeans Dislike Americans So Much" by Nathaniel Drew. Let's find out what's waiting for me on the other side.
I'm asking questions about how Europeans see Americans.
I think it's a third world country with a lot of money. Very
Wow.
negative.
Very negative.
Yeah, I don't see anything positive about America.
I think they're
Never been
a bit
here.
stupid.
American TikTokers, they earn too much money with what they do.
Oh,
Like in Belgium, we have to work for our money and they just make videos and
What are
that's
they,
it.
boomers?
You know, I might be completely wrong about this, but I think it was a little bit cooler to be American when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, in the '90s, being American was the shit.
I've lived in Europe for several years now, and look, I've romanticized this continent quite a bit. I really like living here. But there's a funny feeling that I cannot shake, and I think it has to do with how Europeans view Americans, or how Europeans view me when they discover that I'm American. And it's not entirely positive. This feeling has not gone away even though I've been here for a few years now. And it's not hatred, it's more like negative undertones, offhand comments or jokes that are made.
Great.
And it makes me feel not very cool.
I don't
And
want
by
to
the
feel
way,
not
I
very cool.
recognize not all Europeans dislike
You
Americans.
making these videos
That
make
is
me
a
feel not very
massive
cool, but
generalization.
here I am
Bringing this
trying to
up
get better at
because
it.
it's been enough of a trend for me to confidently talk about this as something that's really happening in the world. I don't think it's just in my head. It just seems like when it comes to Europeans' view of Americans, there's a lot to dislike. I don't necessarily entirely disagree. I have plenty of my own criticisms about the United States and
Oh,
the
yeah.
way of life over there. And I think
Like,
that
I haven't
all
lived in Europe,
places,
but
all
living in the United
societies
States,
merit criticism.
I
That's
just
how
feel
we
like
get better. So this applies to
this ain't
everyone.
for me
But
right
there's
now.
something deeper
Right
going
now,
on here
the
that
way
I wanna
things are going.
explore. On a personal level, my own identity.
At least
as
in
American,
Miami.
but also the identity of Americans on the global stage. We don't live in a bubble, and it turns out the whole world has opinions about us. Now, I have my own theories about what's going on here, but I thought I'd get to the root of the matter and ask Europeans themselves.
It makes me a little bit nervous talking to strangers, but I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
for it.
this takes a lot of balls.
What are the stereotypes?
Let's see.
That's a good question.
Bah moi, quand je pense aux Américains, je pense à la bouffe et tout.
Dans quel sens? Le fast-food?
Ouais,
Ok.
parce que McDo,
McDo. Ouais, ok.
hamburger et tout.
Mais les Français adorent McDo.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's no denying it. Fast food is an American staple. I mean, go to Disney Epcot, where you go around the world, and when you get to the American pavilion, it's cheeseburgers. And you go to Mexico, you have Mexican cuisine, not just tacos. You have different Mexican items. You get to Japan, you have their sushi. You have different types of the sake. You know, you got a bunch of different stuff. Then you get to the USA and it's cheeseburgers. Like, they couldn't come up with anything else.
Oui, bah, on y était il y a 2 minutes.
Donc c'est pas forcément négatif ça.
Non,
non.
Ok.
Mais c'est l'image.
Actually, I like Americans
There we go.
because they are like very chilled. America is like so expensive for
Yeah.
good food.
100%.
For like fruits and all this fresh stuff, it's like so expensive.
J'ai deux visions un peu.
Ok.
J'ai la version où ils sont trop cool et tout, et la version vraiment le beauf américain.
Do you think the stereotypes about Americans are true?
Kind of. I have a classmate that is American, and we are talking like about our traditional foods. And the American was like, my typical food is
hamburger.
hamburger, ice cream, like the McDonald's one. And we are like, oh, so McDonald's is your typical food? She was like, yeah, kind of.
Could I just take a couple minutes to ask you a couple questions? It's
Yeah.
okay if you don't have time, it's fine. Okay. All good. Have a nice day. The Americans don't have time for me.
There we go.
That's kind of funny. Would you mind if I asked you a couple questions?
Polarized.
Polarized.
Extremely polarized.
Yeah. More than the Netherlands.
Much more.
Feel younger people feel the same way or differently about American?
I think even stronger.
Even stronger?
I think they
Okay.
feel even stronger.
Yeah, the older people, I feel maybe thinking of the World War II and World War I, in which the Americans did a very good job
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
helping because Europe was not doing very well.
Yeah.
connaissent que ce qui se passe dans leur pays, j'ai
Ouais,
l'impression.
ouais.
Parce que
Enfermés sur eux-mêmes.
Renfermés sur eux-mêmes.
C'est-à-dire que c'est pas contre eux, mais qu'ils s'intéressent pas trop aux autres pays.
They know about their own country, but not about like other stuff in the world. They're overrated.
Yeah, from my experience with fellow Americans, I mean, I've traveled to quite a few places, and like they just don't want to leave their city, much less their state, much less, go around to another country. I love traveling, and I talk to some of my friends and some coworkers, and they're like, "Oh man, maybe one day I'd go there." And I'm like, "Just go. It's You make like 3 times more money than I ever did. Just go ahead and go. It's not hard, Just go explore the world." But they feel safe in the American circle.
They're overrated. How? Like, they receive too much attention?
Too much
Too much hype.
Too much
on
hype.
the internet.
Are you also German?
yes, I am.
And in Germany, you feel like German people have a positive view of Americans? Or
Not really.
no?
I think
Okay, so more negative.
Yeah, I
No,
think
man.
so.
It's probably
Do
because
you
the
feel
NFL's in
that
Germany
there's
now.
been a
Taking
change at
over.
all in terms of how Americans are viewed?
Watch the Dolphins
like
in
in
Germany.
the last 10, 15 years?
I think so, yes. Especially due to the Trump and the Tea
Yeah.
Party things happening. It got more polarized and that made it more negative
Yeah.
in my view.
Definitely.
There's more that I'd like to say about why I believe this dynamic is happening, why Europeans see Americans in this way. But before I do, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is BetterHelp. And look,
All right.
therapy is a really
Maybe
powerful
one day I'll
tool
get
when it comes to anything and
a
everything.
sponsor.
All right, time for me to share some of my own personal theories here. Here's why I think it was maybe a little bit cooler to be American in the past. I was born in the 90s.
Same.
Maybe like
Well,
some of you.
85.
Back in the 90s, it's not like the United States, or the world for that matter, didn't have its problems. It definitely did. You're not gonna get any of that classic, nostalgic, those were the days kind of thing from me. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that back in the 90s, the internet had not yet completely taken over our lives like it has now. And in my view, the internet
I think
feels like
being born in the 90s versus being raised in the 90s, like I was born in 85, so I was already 5 years old when 1990. So that 10-year span of growing up in the 90s, no internet, no, I didn't even have a computer in my house, no cell phones, just run out, play with your friends. It felt more organic, you're like just meeting people, and you had to be more open. Now you have the option of being shut in to your world and being like, okay, I don't need to socialize. And with the way the U.S. is, it's not as easy to travel from within the cities, within Miami especially. It's not easy to travel from place to place. So you end up maybe not exploring your neighborhood if you don't have to, because you have the internet. You can chat with your friends online, and then you can talk to them. You can play video games online. We used to go rent the video game and have friends come over and play with us, and then next week they'd rent the video game and we'd go over and play at their house, and then our moms would scream about, you need to be home, right? And we'd be like, yeah, you can't find us, there's no cell phones. So it was a good time. Let's get back to it.
it's like it's taken whatever problems already existed and made them bigger and louder. That might actually be what the internet is best at, the fast transmission of ideas and information, which in turn amplifies them. And there's another thing that the internet is really good at, which is that it is a canvas for less curated or filtered versions of that information or ideas. There are less gatekeepers,
Right.
so anyone can say anything. My theory is that as time has gone on, and as the internet has played a bigger and bigger role in our lives,
Which
the
is
world
good.
has
Less
been
gatekeepers
exposed
is
to
better.
a less curated version.
I feel like the whole world
of
needs
the
access to
United
each other.
States. You had movies and TV and pop music reaching the entire world, but it wasn't like it is today with social media and even the news reaching so many more people. Nowadays, it feels like you cannot escape the news about the mass shootings that are constantly happening in the US or the insane election cycles. I think in some ways, the internet might have taken away some of our innocence, right? Some of our naivete. As a result, even more curated versions of culture, like the highly produced TV shows and movies, are reflecting the things that we're seeing. The unintelligent or simple American is a very believable archetype and not a new one. You've got at least one and often more than one character that perfectly fits that archetype in pretty much all American sitcoms, from Friends to How I Met Your Mother. And there are plenty of shows that play off of this very intentionally. I think of South Park and Family Guy and The Simpsons. And internationally,
Simpsons still
the
amazing.
contrast is even
I don't
more
care what
stark.
people
And
say.
it might just be me, but it does feel like the perception of Americans is
Hot take.
deteriorating. I mean, I'm thinking about shows like Emily in Paris or The White Lotus. The White Lotus in particular blew me away because it felt so believable and oftentimes in a very depressing way. Clearly, Americans are not known for being refined or in touch with reality. This is particularly true of wealthy Americans. And why wouldn't Europeans feel this way? We are famously terrible at learning foreign languages. To many, we're seen as living in our own giant bubble.
A lot of people beforehand used
this
to
girl
think
hates
like
America.
the US was like very cool and this really lovely place to go to, but I feel like everyone just thinks it's dangerous and that they don't care about their citizens.
Yeah,
There's
that's
all
true.
these shootings
That's
going
true.
on, like their healthcare
Very
is
horrible.
horrible, their schools
Schools are
horrible.
terrible.
So there's been a change.
She's not
I
wrong.
think it's always been like that. I think there's a change now because like social media is is making it more apparent.
America used to be, you know, like the American dream, like a
Yeah.
lot of used to be a big thing. Like gun crime is getting like publicized a lot more, so I think like the narrative is changing a little bit.
Je vois l'Amérique comme une grande puissance mondiale et je les vois comme des capitalistes. En fait, si tu as de l'argent, tu vis bien, mais si tu n'as pas d'argent, il n'y a personne pour t'aider. Marche ou crève.
In France, we say the Americans are big
Hey,
and fat, but
that's me, man.
I love America with friends, the salary friends.
Donc il y a des côtés positifs et des côtés négatifs.
Ouais, c'est ça
D'accord.
exactement. Globalement, les gens pensent ça, mais en même temps, tout le monde veut aller à New York et tout le monde veut aller aux États-Unis.
Ouais, d'accord, ok.
C'est ça en fait, ouais. Ils ont des préjugés, mais en même temps, c'est quand même un rêve d'y aller.
J'étais absolument ulcérée quand Trump était au pouvoir. De voir le comportement de cet homme, ça donne pas envie d'aller forcément dans ces conditions-là. Le fait que les gens soient très très armés, j'ai l'impression que je me sentirais pas en sécurité.
Everybody loves Canadian.
Okay, so once you clarify you're a Canadian, they're
We're like, oh, Canada, where are you from in Canada?
For me, it's like a lot about the money, like the times I went to New York and it's like, you know, winners and losers and, you know, you gotta make it and you gotta make loads of money and la 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 and then like if you don't have money you're like basically fucked. I would say extremes. It's like an extreme, you know, country, like very very rich, very very poor.
Right.
Eat very much, eat very 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 healthy, like extreme healthy, extreme like XXXL McDonald's, whatever.
Where are you from?
England.
Perfect. So I'm doing a video on
Europeans' view of Americans.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any opinions about that. So okay.
No, we're not.
Oh my God. She must be American.
Do you feel like it's a more positive or a negative view of Americans?
I'd say negative. I feel like there's a lot going on there that's just a bit backwards.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we need to move along.
Yeah.
The like, you know, all the abortion laws coming
Okay,
in.
so politically.
And, like all the gun crimes, things like that. Like I imagine like most of the country is absolutely lovely, but there's some of the morals that are just a little bit off.
Sorry, just adjusting the camera here.
So it's with that.
I agree, but I do think you all like proper chatty and that, and you're really energetic.
Yeah.
So it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
But I
lovely
also
to
agree
meet
with that as well.
Yeah.
It's lovely to meet Americans.
Yeah.
Love meeting Americans.
Okay,
Alright.
so why am I so
I
interested?
guess the
in this
English
topic?
have a better opinion of
Well,
us
over the last few years,
than most of the
I
French.
have shared my journey moving abroad and looking for a home. Because that home is not the United States. I just don't feel connected to that country. Not as a home, even though I'm coming to realize that it did shape me in many ways. I'm just trying to find my place, but as I've said before, different people will treat you in different ways based off of how they perceive you. The first time I experienced this was during my high school exchange in France when I was 16 years old. Obama was president, and regardless of your personal political opinions or feelings, he was seen in a generally positive light abroad. So in a
Yeah,
weird
the world
way,
loved
even though
Obama.
I was not responsible for electing him, I wasn't even of age to vote, that scored me some cool points. And then on top of it, 16-year-old French kids living in a small town in the west of France thought it was cool that I rode a yellow bus to school and that I had my own personal locker in the United States. So I was benefiting from all these things that I didn't really control at all. Then I get to Argentina a few years later, and I see what it's like to be on the flip side, where the general sentiment was more negative. I'm generalizing here, but there's a bit of an anti-American streak in Argentina. And I think this comes down to the image that the United States has of being a bit of a bully. I mean, Che Guevara is a bit of an anti-American, anti-capitalist symbol, right? So that was a very different experience, and now I'm back in Europe, and I've been here for a while, and the perception has changed yet again.
90% of
very much not a good person.
Dutchmen
This Che
think
guy.
Trump is quite strange.
Yeah.
They think Republicans are also quite strange, and that Americans are very Puritan.
This might just be me, but I do feel like the image of Americans has deteriorated a little
Yeah,
bit over
definitely.
the last 10 years. That might come down to the government that's currently in power. It might come down to social media. This is a very complex thing, so I can't point to a single reason, but it's definitely a feeling that's there. Now, on a personal level, before I realized that this was going on, I was kind of unintentionally overcompensating. I felt like I needed to show that I wasn't the out-of-touch American in Europe. And the same thing happened to me in Argentina, where I was speaking with as much slang as I possibly could that I picked up over there, even when it was just way too much, when it was inappropriate. Que zarpado, boludo, está re piola, pibe, mal. Why was I acting like that? Was there a deeper need within me to be accepted by
definitely
the
keep
people
this haircut.
that I am surrounded by? To me, it's a little bit cringy to behave that way because it's overcompensating for something, which in this case was the identity that people were associating with me. Whatever it was, the out-of-touch, stupid American, whatever it might be. But that's actually a me problem, not a problem with the world. I've come to realize that people can think whatever they want about you. It doesn't change
Right.
who you are. If people see me as yet another dumb American, it doesn't mean that's true.
Yeah,
And
it's on them.
also, it doesn't mean all Americans are that way. I think we all know this. We all know that individuals don't necessarily follow the stereotypes, but it's also how people operate in a world of 8 billion people. I can't blame people for having formulated an idea about the place that I'm from, considering how much culture is exported
Yeah.
from that place. A part of me used to try to distance myself as much as possible from anything and everything American. But the truth is that at least some part of me, some piece of me, has been influenced by my upbringing there. There are a lot of things I don't like, but there are some things that I do. If genuinely being very enthusiastically excited about simple things is the dumb American thing to do, then fine, maybe I'm a dumb American
Yeah.
sometimes, because that is something that comes naturally to me. I would rather be myself and accept the consequences than try to be someone that I'm not. And you know what? Everyone wants to feel welcome wherever they are, and especially in their home. But the reality is that that's actually a luxury, not a given. So many immigrants in the United States were never made to feel
Yep.
that way, despite the fact that the country benefited tremendously from all the immigration, all the people that risked their lives to go build something over there. Honestly, I don't have it that bad. Who am I kidding? I don't have it bad at all.
Yeah,
It
my
could be
family's immigrants
so
and
much worse, and oftentimes
are all immigrants,
it is.
and
Exploring this topic is
like I'm
really
first generation,
quite a bit of empathy
born here,
for the
and I don't have it bad at all,
immigrants that
to be
are
honest.
very poorly received all around the world. So, what do you think about everything I just shared here? What is your perception of Americans or of Europeans towards Americans? I would be curious to hear because this is a giant open-ended topic, and I invite all different opinions and perspectives on this. It's just something I love to explore. Also,
Yeah, I would love to hear you guys'
apologies to
opinion on it
all
too.
Latin Americans and Canadians
Leave it in the
who
comments,
are
whatever you guys
Americans
think.
in their own right. I have decided to use that word in this video because there isn't really another word that has been widely adopted to still speak of the people of the United States. So I just used it for simplicity, and I hope that you can forgive me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see all of you very soon.
And thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, I'm going to move over there soon, so I'll let you guys know how the Spanish feel about Americans. I've heard good things. I've heard some bad things. You know, it depends on the part of Spain you're going. I'm going to move to Madrid, so it's a little more diverse. But overall, I think it's going to be a good experience for me and my family. So, you know, looking forward to that. Looking forward to making more videos. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Right now, I'm just recording some of the YouTubers I like, some topics of interest that I think are interesting to me. So if you guys find some things that might be interesting for you for me to react to, or for me to expand on, let me know. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.